Hi everyone. So today out in the Canadian Rockies in Alberta, we are at Tunnel Mountain. So just like Sulphur Mountain, Tunnel Mountain is really famous. It's one of Banff's most famous mountains. And again, just like Sulphur Mountain, it's super easily accessible. So you can see to my right hand side there's the parking lot. And as I was coming up to the Tunnel Mountain sign, there was the road. So just like Sulphur Mountain, Tunnel Mountain is located pretty closely into the village of Banff. And you don't have to drive far. I did drive just because I spoiled myself, I guess. But you can actually walk to it from your hotel. So you don't have to catch the shuttle, or you can. And you don't have to drive. It's super easily accessible, just like Sulphur Mountain. So that's probably also why it's so famous, because it's so easy to get to. Okay, so I'm just going to keep trekking up the mountain. We are on Tunnel Mountain, but I'm going to keep walking, and eventually it's going to be broken up by another road with some more parking. So this is, so you can see behind me, down to the bottom there is parking, but again, in about maybe 100 meters, we're going to reach another platform where there's some the parking. So this is kind of the beginning of Tunnel Mountain, but I think more so the beginning is once we get past that second parking lot, and it's actually a more busy parking lot as well. I wanted to start from the beginning here because to me, I saw the Tunnel Mountain sign. I was like, oh, this is, to me, is officially the beginning. So, and I just wanted to show it as well. So I just want to make sure that I can get the most of the trail to you, depending on wherever you decide to start it. So you can see that the trail here in front of me, not only are the views absolutely amazing, and if you do look down to the left there, that is Banff. So that is also why Tunnel Mountain is so famous, and probably one of Banff's most famous mountains, is because you can trek to the top and look out over all of Banff and see beautiful downtown Banff from the summit of Tunnel Mountain. So it's really special, and we are going to get to see those views if you stick around to the end of the video. It is astonishing, and even just hiking up the side of Tunnel Mountain, I'm getting a nice glimpse of Banff as well. But so the trail in front of me, as you can see, is a very distinctly made trail. It is super easy to trek in the way that it's flat. Like, there are some rocks and roots, tree roots, of course, but it's a pretty easy trail. It's not super rocky, it's not super uneven. But having said all of that, I must warn you, just like Sulphur Mountain, Tunnel Mountain is very steep. So the first half of this mountain is just a series of switchbacks that you can see that I'm doing up here, and it's helping break up some of the steepness, but it is still very steep. Once we get through all of this and we get closer to the top of the mountain, the terrain does change significantly, but right now just be prepared, like, it is super steep. But you can see as I'm hiking up the mountain, there are various kind of guardrails, I guess, that you can see off to my right here. I've passed a couple people who are leaning against them, taking their breath. So it's pretty cute. And definitely, if that's something you need to do it, because the views are worth the hike. I'm telling you now. So you can see the mountains in the back, and that is Banff to the right. Take a second to show you. So as we climb up higher on Tunnel Mountain, you'll get a better bird's eye view of Banff. I'm just going to keep showing you Banff, each kind of elevation as we go up, so you can get an idea of how it progresses and how it changes. So you can see here in front of me, this is the second parking lot. This is the most famous, or I should say the most common area for people to come park, just because I guess it kind of takes off that first really difficult steepness of the mountain. You start here, like, it is still steep, but it's a little bit easier to climb up, I've already noticed. And so this is a more popular place to come start. But it is still Tunnel Mountain. Like, it's still considered the whole mountain. It is broken up at the road here. And you can see there's lots of cars parked. I highly recommend starting from the beginning. But of course, if it's not something that you think you can do, then definitely come park up here. So at this point, I'm not even a kilometer into my hike yet. And I feel like I've already done a couple of kilometers, just like Sulphur Mountain, because it's steep, so it really tires you out quickly. So I'm on another switchback, just giving you a quick view. There's Banff there through the trees. Terrain is still nice and easy to walk. We got lots of trees around us. It is a little bit overcast right now, which is great because earlier it was super sunny, and where I was hiking there was not a lot of tree coverage, and it was a hot day, but it was a lovely day. So today, right now, we've got some cloud coverage, and you can see that even though the trees are very tall, they're not as lush as what I would see in Ontario. So there is a lot of chances for the sun to peek on through and overheat me, but that's not happening right now. Thank you. Trees are so beautiful, though. I love how they grow on the side of the mountain like this. It always amazes me how nature just finds a way. So peeking through the trees, you can see Banff. As we slowly get higher up the mountain, it'll become a lot more clear because we'll be looking at it over top of all the trees. And then you'll get like a really nice view of it. Okay, so at this point, we've gotten almost to the top of Tunnel Mountain. We still got a ways to go, but this is where the terrain really starts to change. So you can see behind me there is a really nicely clearly marked trail, and now as I pan the camera out, you see it gets really, really rocky. So we're starting to reach that top of the mountain where the terrain is changing, like how I mentioned before that it would. But we start to get the better view too. So we still got a hike to get up. We still got a lot more to go. You can see there's people coming down. I did chat with them. They were very, very lovely. And they said, push through. The steepness is worth it. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to keep going. And you see more of that rocky terrain to my left there. That's going to get more common on the trail as I get further up. There's Banff again. And all those beautiful mountains in the distance. It's so gorgeous. I've never seen anything like this with my own eyes. So it's just so incredible to be here and climb up on these mountains and get such a nice bird's eye view. Because like I mentioned before, you know, like I like to ski, but the mountains we have in Ontario are not like this at all. So look at on the side here, like I mentioned, we have some rocky terrain coming up. Still lots of nice tree coverage. I'll take a second to show you. It just goes up and down. Lots of trees. Can't go wrong with tons of trees. That's part of that fresh mountain air because all those trees keep it nice and clean for us. Just giving you a view of what's around me. I'm about halfway through Tunnel Mountain now. You can see as the terrain is starting to get more rocky and more covered in tree roots, it will gradually continue to get this way until I get to the top. And then once I get to the top, I'm going to have to hike over to that summit point where we can see Banff from on top of the mountain. So I was just taking a peek at the sign there as I let some hikers pass me. You can probably still see them over on the left there. Again, I chatted with them, very lovely. Again, they just had some amazing things to say about the views I'm about to see, so I'm super excited for that. And that sign there that we did pass was just talking about that elk are very common on this hill and not to approach them because they can be very territorial or they can attack you, and you don't want that. Although elk are beautiful, and I've seen them quite a few times already, and they've seemed to I'm not saying approach them. I am saying, you know, always be cautious, and wildlife is unpredictable, of course, so take that into consideration. But the elk are lovely. They are huge. I think it tends to be more of the men that are big and scary. The women will get kind of territorial and protective of their young. So of course, just respect their space if you do see them. I haven't seen any on Tunnel Mountain yet. Although one of the hikers passed me and warned me, hey, there's lots of elk around here, so be careful. I was like, okay. But I haven't seen any. So the path is starting to get more narrow. We're approaching the top now. We're a little bit more than halfway through the hike. About, well, I would say, yeah, about 3/4 of the way through. And you see that we're starting to get a better view of Banff, but it's still a little bit clouded by the trees. So as we go up, I'll continue to show you as it gets more revealed to us as we hike up the mountain. Just kind of nice to see that gradual progression of the bird's eye view of Banff. It's just so incredible. And of course, just peeking out to the left and seeing trees and trees and trees, and then to the right and seeing mountains and mountains and mountains through the trees. So the views are just stunning all the way up this mountain. So you can see we're starting to get on top of the tree line. There is Banff, looking absolutely marvelous from on top of Tunnel Mountain, or almost on top of Tunnel Mountain, I should say. We are very near the top here. And just give you a moment to take in that view. The trail's getting more rocky, as it's going to continue to do as we progress off to the left. So right now we're basically on top of Tunnel Mountain. We're not at the ending where people like to go and take pictures and really get that beautiful view of downtown Banff, but we are on top of Tunnel Mountain as of now. So you can see how there isn't much of a distinct trail, just like when I was on top of Mount White, when I was visiting Lake Louise and Lake Agnes. It's just very, very rocky. You'll see that there's kind of a trail where people tend to walk as much as they can, where it's less rocky, a little bit more safe. But again, like, it's just really, that's why there's lots of signs about caution, because it's saying just watch your step, it's rocky, you're gonna fall off the edge, be careful, you know, use your own discretion. So that's what we're doing here. So we were just on the left side of Tunnel Mountain. Now I'm over on the right hand side, because there is a little bit of a trail here, because it allows you to go out and get some views on the other side here. So you can see down into the valley there. There's another little river. I'm going to follow it along and get some more views of it before we get up to the actual, I guess, official summit of Tunnel Mountain. Yeah, so the valley looks absolutely gorgeous. Just nice and open. And then just on our left of the mountain, we have Banff. So two very distinctly different views. One's downtown, one's in the valley. Very lovely change. So you probably noticed that the mountain has kind of flattened out on the trail because we're on top of the mountain. We're not hiking up it anymore. So a lot of the trees that we're seeing, they don't look like they're slanted, right? They're kind of on par with our level, even though the mountain, of course, is not completely flat on the top, like no mountain is. So that's why the change in trees, and of course, we do have the rocky terrain as well. So we are on top of Tunnel Mountain. I'm just going to keep hiking down so we can get those beautiful views. Again, there's the valley, a little bit more clear. There's a bit of wind blowing right now, and it's so, so refreshing. And the smell too, it feels amazing, and it smells amazing. I can't even describe how clean it smells. How fresh. So very rocky here. So again, we've climbed up the left-hand side of Tunnel Mountain. I was on the very top of it where it's flat, but now I'm kind of more off to the right-hand side because I saw that there was a bit of a trail there made, so I could go out to the right-hand side and see the valley. So that's what I've been doing here, but eventually the trail is going to kind of lead me back to the middle point on top of the mountain and take me out a little bit further. Okay, so this is one of the points, one of the lookouts that are marked on the trail on the map, and it's called the Two Red Chairs. Evidently, it's two red chairs. So, I mean, I guess that's where the namesake comes from. Ha ha ha. But so this is a very nice viewpoint for hikers because some of the signs I was reading up the mountain say, hey, you know, it's a steep climb. Sit down, enjoy the view. And essentially, what that means is like, look, there's downtown Banff, right? We work really, really hard in life, and sometimes we rush through life and we forget to take a chance to slow down and see what's around us and observe and just be very mindful. So reading that sign, it was just a nice reminder to, one, you know, slow down, observe your surroundings, live in the moment, appreciate what you have. And two, for me, is because I never know if I'll get this experience again. So it's really special for me to absorb it and really live in this moment and enjoy it. So, of course, you know, you come here, please sit down in the red chairs, take a breath, take some water, and just enjoy what you're seeing because you climbed that steep mountain. Whew, you deserve a break. So that's my little bit of unsolicited advice. I did take my own advice, though. I did sit for a little bit and enjoy the view from the red chairs. I had some water, but of course, I was very eager to keep hiking and show you the rest of the views. So here I am. Right now, I am basically at the summit of Tunnel Mountain. I'm just going to hike out onto the rocky platform. I do see some people around, so I'm just trying to wait out a little bit and give them a chance to enjoy the views before I come in.
Do you want us to get a picture of you like with background?
Sure, that'd be great. I can do one for you too if you want. Okay, so this is kind of funny. You heard me talking to the ladies there because they were asking if we wanted to take pictures of each other. So yes, of course. I'll show you one of the pictures at the end that the lady took for me. Very lovely, Very lovely people. And you meet a lot of lovely people on the hikes. Everyone here is just really, really enjoying what they get to see. So there's so many positive and lovely interactions, which I think make the experience so much better. I'm a solo hiker. I do love doing things by myself, but just having those intermittent, beautiful interactions with people are so lovely. Okay, so that's my ADHD derailment of humanity and my faith in it. Back to the mountain. I am at the summit of Tunnel Mountain. This is it. This is where people climb to. You can see it's a super rocky terrain. This is the view of downtown Banff from the very, very summit of Tunnel Mountain. So I'm just going to move the camera around, get you guys some views of it. There are some people coming up behind me, so I wanted to move out of the way and let them have a chance to see as well. I'm going to climb up a little bit higher on this rock pile. And there it is. That is downtown Banff from the summit of Tunnel Mountain. Okay, so as always, I'm going to leave you with some pictures and some stats. So, Tunnel Mountain, it took me 5.27 kilometers to trek up. That is an out or in and out trail, so that is about half the distance to climb up and then half the distance to climb down, all within the 5.27 kilometers. The elevation gain for me that I hiked up was 271 meters, so a very short, sweet, and steep mountain. And my moving time that it took me to hike all the way up and all the way down was 1 hour and 35 minutes. So I highly, highly recommend this mountain. It's super steep, but like I said, it's short and sweet, and the views are so, so worth it. And as promised, here's the picture of me that lovely lady took of me at the top of Tunnel Mountain looking out at Banff. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And as always, keep trekking.